Bahadur Shah II, also known as Bahadur Shah Zafar, ascended to the Mughal throne in 1837, succeeding his father Akbar Shah II. It's essential to understand that by this time, the once mighty Mughal Empire had substantially declined, and the British Empire had solidified its control over India. Bahadur Shah II rule unfolded in a vastly transformed landscape where the splendor of the Mughal dynasty had faded, and he held a position of nominal authority, largely confined to Delhi. Bahadur Shah II's reign was fraught with challenges. He grappled with the complexities of governing a vastly reduced empire, financial difficulties, and internal strife among his courtiers. His authority was limited, overshadowed by the overbearing control of the British East India Company, which exercised substantial influence over the Indian subcontinent. The emperor's rule was characterized by political and social changes as the British introduced new laws and system of governance, further curbing the traditional power of Mughal throne. One of the most pivotal moments during Bahadur Shah II's reign was the Indian Rebellion of 1857, a historic event often referred to as the Sepoy Mutiny of the First War of Independence. This uprising brought together people from diverse regions and backgrounds, united by a common cause, the desire to challenge British rule. Bahadur Shah II was reluctantly thrust into the role of the nominal leader of this revolt, a symbolic figurehead of Indian resistance. The rebellion aimed to break the shackles of British dominance and restore Indian sovereignty. However, it encountered significant obstacles. Internal divisions among Indian groups, varying motivations, and the absence of cohesive leadership weakened the rebellion's ineffectiveness. In contrast, the British possessed a well-organized army, superior firepower, and the ability to swiftly suppress local uprisings. Despite initial successes, the Indian Rebellion of 1857 ultimately met with failure. The British regained control and Bahadur Shah II was captured. Subsequently, he faced a trial and was sentenced to exile in Rangoon, located in present-day Myanmar. This marked the end of his active involvement in the rebellion. Bahadur Shah II's exile was marked by solitude and the fading glory of once potent empire. He initially endured probationary conditions before being placed under house arrest. Far from his homeland and people, he spent his final years in relative obscurity. In 1862, Bahadur Shah II passed away, signifying the symbolic conclusion of the Mughal Empire. His exile and subsequent demise represented the diminishing influence of the Mughals, who had once wielded immense authority over much of the Indian subcontinent. Although the Mughal Empire receded into history, the struggle for Indian independence persevered. Various Indian rulers, leaders, and reformers continued to resist British rule through diverse means. The resistance eventually culminated in India's attainment of independence in 1947, when the nation broke free from British colonialism and achieved self-rule. Bahadur Shah II's reign, marked by its challenges and the momentous Indian Rebellion of 1857, remains an integral part of India's enduring journey towards independence and self-determination. The post-Mughal era in India was marked by the rise of British East India Company, which gradually extended its dominion over the Indian subcontinent. As the British assumed direct control, India witnessed a transformation that left a profound impact on its history. The British East India Company, initially arriving on the shores of India as traders, had by the 18th century became a formidable colonial power. They sought to exploit India's vast resources, both natural and human, for their own benefit. British factories and trading posts sprang up across the subcontinent. The British took advantage of India's wealth in terms of spices, textile, and raw materials. Vast fortunes were amassed as these resources were shipped back to Britain. One notable example was the removal of marbles from Indian monuments, particularly in places like Agra, Delhi, and Lahore. These marbles were transported to England, where they adorned grand buildings and museums. Perhaps one of the most iconic symbols of British exploitation was the Kohinoor diamond, originally mined in India. This spectacular gem found its way into British hands during the colonial period. It was eventually set into British Crown, where it remains to this day, a stark reminder of India's plundered riches. The British implemented land revenue policies that had detrimental effects on Indian farmers. Many farmers lost their lands due to heavy taxation and unfair practices. The introduction of cash crops like indigo and opium, grown for export, often led to the neglect of food crops, contributing to famine in various parts of India. The two world wars in the 20th century placed significant strain on the British Empire. India, as a British colony, was deeply affected. The demand of the wars exacerbated social and economic hardships for the Indian population. Amid these challenges, the desire for independence grew stronger. India's leaders like Mahatma Gandhi, Jawaharlal Nehru, and Subhash Chandra Bose began to rally the masses. Non-violent movements, civil disobedience, and the calls for quit India reverberated throughout the country. The Indian National Congress, under Gandhi's leadership, spearheaded the peaceful yet determined struggle for self-rule. As the British Empire weakened in the aftermath of World War II, they recognized the growing need of Indian independence. In 1947, India finally gains its hard-fought independence, marking the end of nearly 2 centuries of colonial rule. The legacy of this era includes both scars of exploitation and the resilience of the Indian people in their quest for freedom. India's path to independence serves as an enduring testament to the power of non-violence, determination, and the desire for self-determination. During the tumultuous period of British colonial rule in India and the movement towards independence, Muhammad Ali Jinnah emerged as a prominent leader advocating for the rights and interests of Muslims. His efforts laid the foundation for the campaign for a separate Muslim nation, which eventually led to the creation of Pakistan. Muhammad Ali Jinnah, often referred to as Quaid-e-Azam, the great leader, was a lawyer and politician who played a crucial role in the Indian independence movement. Jinnah initially began his political career within the Indian National Congress, which was striving for a united, independent India. However, he grew disillusioned with the Congress approach, as he believed the rights and interests of Muslims were not represented. Jinnah's fight for Muslim rights eventually led to the demand for separate Muslim nation. He argued that Muslims in India constituted a distant political and cultural community and should have their own nation to safeguard their interests. This vision laid the groundwork for the idea of Pakistan. Lord Louis Mountbatten, the last Viceroy of India, played a crucial role in the transition to Indian independence. He worked closely with Indian leaders, including Jinnah and Jawaharlal Nehru, to negotiate the terms of independence and partition of India. In August 1947, India gained independence from British colonial rule. At the same time, Indian Independence Act of 1947 was passed, leading to the partition of India into 2 separate nations, India and Pakistan. Pakistan was established as a homeland for Muslims, with Jinnah serving as its first Governor-General. Muhammad Ali Jinnah's efforts and leaderships were instrumental in the creation of Pakistan, a nation where Muslims could exercise self-determination and protect their cultural and political rights. While independence brought about a new era for both India and Pakistan, it also marked a partition that led to significant communal violence and the displacement of millions of people. The legacy of this period continues to shape the political and cultural landscape of the Indian subcontinent to this day. The Mughal Empire, which once reigned over the vast Indian subcontinent, with its grandeur and splendor, saw its era came to a gradual end. From its zenith under the rulers like Akbar the Great and Shah Jahan, the Mughals left an indelible mark on Indian history, culture, and architecture. Yet as time passed, their empire waned and their authority diminished. The rise of regional powers, coupled with the arrival of European colonial forces, signaled the end of the Mughal dynasty. Despite the decline, the legacy of the Mughal endures in the cultural tapestry of India, their architectural marvels, and the collective memory of an empire that once held sway over the Indian continent. We will cover the partition of India and Pakistan in detail and the creation of Bangladesh, other historical episodes. Please subscribe to stay tuned and please leave your comment. Thank you very much.